بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم فيه آيات بينات مقام إبراهيم ومن دخله كان آمنا ولله على الناس حج البيت من استطاع إليه سبيلا ومن كفر فإن الله غني عن العالمين صدق الله العظيم.
شكرا. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. We're doing 397, right? Yes. فيه where was it? It's alamin. Okay. فيه آيات. فيه.
In it.
آيات.
Evidence.
Grammatically, how will you look at ayatun?
Female. It's a feminine
Indefinite
plural.
noun.
Yeah, who said indefinite?
Shanaz.
Good. There's a tanween there, right? And evidence. And evidence, right? Okay, I did ayatun and evidence. Bayinatun. Bayinatun. Clear. Bayinat. Right? Bayinat clear.
Sorry, I'm back.
Maqamu.
Bayinatun is the root is ba, ya, noon, clear, plain, evident, obvious.
Okay. Maqamu.
Makamu, the root is kaf, waw, mim. Qaf, waw, mim. And it's a site or a location, a position, a standing place, locality.
Okay, just for information purpose, when you have a mim in front, which is not part of the root, and you have a fatah, it refers to a place, okay? Like you have Makkah, mim wata fatah, Medina. Okay, so Maqam means it's a place, it's a reference to a place, okay?
Okay.
Ibrahim,
Ibrahim is the name of a Nabi.
woman,
Muhammad and normally,
dakhala,
sorry,
ever.
yeah, dakhala is to enter frequently, to go, step, walk. It's a verb. Huh? This is a form 1 verb. Dakhala is a form 1 verb.
Dakhala who?
Who is attached pronoun.
Enters it.
Okay, dakhala. Kana,
Kana is the root is kaf, waw, noon. Kaf, waw, noon. It's a form 1. To be or this one is a little bit of a difficult one. It's a is or be or exist. It's something that is happening right now. To be.
aminan,
Aminan, amana is a root word. It's safety, peace, security, protection, public safety. One who is convinced. So amana also is one who is convinced, one person that is convinced.
walillahi,
You see, that's why we're saying convinced, because walillahi is and Serene, wa is and Allah. So and to Allah. That means convinced, actually convinced in Allah.
alannasi,
Allah is upon nas.
Mankind.
Yes, mankind, correct, yeah, Serene, mankind. What is it?
hijjun,
Hijjun.
I don't know.
We'll come to that later on, Iqbal. The root is ha, ja.
hajj, same root with hajj,
Yeah.
al-bayti,
So why I'm saying we'll come back to that, there is some discussion needed in that one, right? So we'll come back to that one. Al-Bayt, it's the house. The house.
house,
Yeah.
man istata,
Manis is who, and astata, the root is ta, waw, ain. To be, it's a form 10 verb. This is a nice one, interesting. Form 10 verb. To be able, yeah, to be able, be in position to do, to get, to carry out, to take upon, be capable. So Iqbal, you want to talk about the pronunciation of the form 10 verb? Or we do it later? Yeah. So it's always...
I don't want to dwell on it now.
Okay, right. Okay, let's go
But
past.
just for information, but you know your form 1 is fa'ala, form 2 is fa'ala, etc. No? So you got your form 10. For example, form 4 is tafala, form 5 is tafa'ala, and form 10 is istafala. But we'll, just for information purposes, but don't worry about it now.
Ilayhi, to it. Ilay is to, he is it. Sabilan, the root is sabala, and sabili is either the way or road or path, means of access.
Woman.
And whoever. And
Kafara.
Kafara is a verb. Kafara, the one who disbelieves or is not convinced.
Reject.
The one, yes.
Allah.
Somebody said reject is correct, and it's also to cover. When you cover the truth.
فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ.
فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ, then indeed Allah.
غَنِيٌّ.
The root is Gha, Ghain, Noon, Ya. It's a noun, and it's wealth, affluence, riches. He cannot dispense with it. He cannot do without it. He can dispense with it. He does not need it. To forego, renounce something.
Anil alamin.
Anil
Of
of, yes, correct. Alamin,
men and jinn. Men and jinn.
yeah. So what about this? Ifta'ala, yeah.
Ta'ala.
Ifta'ala, yeah. It's nice to know that these, because like during the day we practice, sometimes sitting and doing nothing, we say the fa'ala, afala and all that. Just to remember it is very important, I think.
Can I just ask a word with the Arabic in the ayat that you just did? It says fa'inna. Inna means certainly and surely. What does the fa mean in front of the inna?
Fa is normally so. And in this case,
So, okay.
yeah, in this case it's then. So then indeed, or so indeed. Inna is indeed, surely. I sent you all, the list of prepositions. I think it's there, I'm not sure, I can't remember.
Just for some vocabulary. Ayat.
Evidences.
Evidence.
Man, what's with mankind?
Bait.
Bait is house.
House.
Sabilan.
Way.
Way.
Road.
Correct.
Kafara.
To cover up.
Not convinced.
And to cover up, yes, not convinced.
Reject or to cover. And one more. You must shout out the answer for me, the first person. Everyone listening. Alamin.
Men and jinn.
Men and jinn. My favorite thing.
Jinn. Who was first?
Serene.
University. Or what is universe in Arabic?
Samawat.
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 Mawati wal Ard.
Yeah, Sama.
Samawat, yeah. Sama also can mean sky, okay?
Yeah.
Alright. Allah saying here, in it are, in what? Are evidences, clear evidences. Maqam Ibrahim. Now they say this is where Ibrahim, they take this verse and say, this is where Nabi Ibrahim stood to pray and there's a footprint there.
It's a very unnatural footprint, huh? I must say that. It's not, let's not comment too much on it. It's not that important, I think.
There's no way of verifying whether it was his footprint or not. We cannot be sure.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
No. There's no way of confirming it. We just led to believe that that was his footprint.
Yeah.
The Quran doesn't mention that. Okay, so let's analyze it, yeah? That's what Allah is saying in this ayah in 397. In it are clear evidences, ayah, maqam, where Nabi Ibrahim, maqam, stood. Okay, let's just go up to that point for now. In it are, in what are evidences? Allah is saying, remember we're continuing from 96. We said there's a house appointed for all people, that of Makkah. So Allah is referring to in it, same place, right? Makkah. Now, it is saying here, Allah is saying here that they stood up Maqam Ibrahim. What are the evidences of Nabi Ibrahim being there? That is what we will look at. What evidences is Allah talking about?
No.
What evidences can we find there referring to Nabi Ibrahim in Makkah?
But I put it this way, it's a lack of evidence, lack of any idols. There's no idols at all. You won't notice an idol.
But that could be referred to the Nabi Muhammad.
True.
Let's talking about Nabi Ibrahim.
What about the well, the water well? The Zamzam?
What is the Zamzam? How would it be? But it says here, Maqam Ibrahim, where Nabi Ibrahim stood.
The masjid.
Stood. Maqam. Established. Actually, we should translate that word Maqam here, even though it literally means stood, but where he established. Establish what? Set up what?
The Salah.
Yeah, but this stood.
Everyone's back.
Yep.
Okay, so it's saying here, we were discussing, we were saying, okay, in it are evidences that what Nabi Ibrahim established. So the only evidence that I can think of that's there is the Kaaba and the footprint. Is there any other evidence? But the footprint, we cannot verify it is his footprint. How do we verify it? How do we say it is? Because Allah does not mention it in the Quran. But there's no way we can verify that it is his footprint. So we left the Kaaba. That is what Nabi Ibrahim established.
But is it really physically what he stood for, or did he, no, what I'm sorry, physically did he stand there, or is it what he stood for?
It's a good question. You see, remember, if you look at the other verses in the Quran, Nabi Ibrahim had to leave, he had to go into exile. Remember, they wanted to burn him at that because he rejected shirk. Remember, he even physically went in there and he destroyed the idols and he left one standing. That's according to the Quran. And he said, they said, why did you do it? And he said, no, ask the one that's standing there who did it. That's in the Quran. Okay. So he went and he set up, he moved along. He had to leave all that family, and then certain people that agreed with him moved with him. And he set up, and Allah asked him to set up the house. And this is what he set up, which would have been the Kaaba. And that's where he set himself up. And then he only propagated the oneness of Allah. Okay. So, in addition to that, what it also means is that he set up the oneness of Allah and he removed the kind of shirk. So it means basically he wiped out shirk in terms of physically and psychologically, mentally, in all forms, in the mind as well, all forms of shirk. He stood over the oneness of Allah propagated the oneness, one authority of Allah. And he taught and he propagated to his people, being a Nabi, that we must remove all kinds of shirk in any form whatsoever, physically, mentally, in our minds as well, any kind of shirk. And we discussed it before, where shirk is where you get attached to something or someone, maybe an actor, maybe a singer, maybe a sports star. You get so obsessed that now you are committing shirk. You admire that person or woman so much to commit shirk, that you think so much of that person or thing or item that you are now committing shirk. You're so in awe of that thing, you praise that thing so much in your mind, you're so mesmerized in your mind, you're so obsessed that you can't get that thing out of your mind, or you struggle to get it out of your mind. It dominates your life or your time, etc. That is all now regarded as shirk. So Nabi Ibrahim came and he removed all that. And he set up this place and he invited people to the oneness of Allah. And Allah appointed him as a Nabi. Okay? And he became a model, an example of how Allah praises him. You know, we said in the Quran, Allah talks about all the Nabis, and each Nabi has some kind of a quality that he excelled in. And Allah praises Nabis for various things that they did, for various qualities that they possessed. And one of the things that Nabi Ibrahim stood for, where he fought and he removed and he was against shirk. Now you can ask that question, yeah, but what about all the other Nabis? Didn't they also fight against shirk and remove? Yes, they did. Of course they did. Otherwise they wouldn't be Nabis. They all believed in the one authority in Allah. They were all against shirk. But Nabi Ibrahim had this challenge where he had to come out from his own family. And they had, in his own family, he had these prominent people that were deep into the shirk. And how, despite being part of the family and growing up with all the shirk, how he managed to isolate himself, remove himself from the shirk when Allah gave him the guidance and appointed him as a Nabi. And how he had to sacrifice all that family and he had to go into hijrah. And he did it willingly and happily. And he did it to please Allah. And he had to forgo all his family, all his possessions, and he had to move on. And that's why Allah praises him. And that is why we admire Nabi Ibrahim. That despite everything that he lost, and all the possessions he lost, all the family that he lost, that he cut himself off from the shirk, and he attached himself to the oneness of Allah, and to the one authority of Allah, and he began to praise Allah. He was devoted to Allah, and he was in awe of Allah, and he was in admiration of Allah, and he only focused on Allah. And that is what Nabi Ibrahim we learn from. We learn from all the Nabis. All the Nabis are our heroes. They are all our teachers. They are all our examples. They are all our models that we want to follow and to be like. So we learn from each of the Nabis, and we try to emulate each of the Nabis' qualities as best as we can. So in this regard, Allah is talking about, yes, what AK said, he stood for the oneness of Allah. But he also established, he set up that place which is now remembered by mankind until the Akhirah, until the end of the earth, that mankind will always be there for Hajj, and they will always remember Nabi Ibrahim, and he will never be forgotten for what he did. And Allah never wasted his deeds. And Allah kept him in memory. How did Allah keep him in our memory? How did Allah keep him in memory of all human beings to come in the future generations? How did Allah keep him alive? His memory living. What did Allah do to keep his memory alive? What did Allah do?
Durud Ibrahim.
Yeah, Nabi Ibrahim.
Durud Ibrahim.
Yeah, but that's not mentioned in the Quran, but you can read it, it's fine. But what is Allah talking about? How did Allah keep his memory alive?
Allah mentions it in the Quran.
That's it. Allah mentions him in the Quran. Allah mentions his story, his history, his situation, what he went through. When Allah mentions something, it is accurate. Because Allah is, how do we know it's accurate? Because Allah is
Truthful.
All-knowing.
all-knowing and all-present.
Yeah.
And Allah watches all the time what happens. So Allah talks the truth, yes. And Allah relates, whatever Allah relates to us is the truth and it's accurate. So in the Quran, Allah talks about Nabi Ibrahim. He How does Allah keep his memory alive? Recite the Quran. What did Allah do?
Eid. Eid.
Right?
Eid. Eid ul-Adha, maybe, when you go. Oh, people every year they make Qurbani. They say it's people in commemoration of, the sacrifice that Ebrahim AS made. Could be that.
Well, that's more from the traditional side. According to the Quran, if you look at the Hajj verses, it tells you
The Kaaba.
the Hajj there. So it's the Kaaba and the fact that people go for Hajj, and we will discuss in the other verses what the real Hajj is all about, what the Quran says. So when people do the Hajj and when they go there, they will remember the Kaaba, they will remember what it stood for. So one of the things when people go for Hajj there is to establish the authority of Allah, the rule of Allah, the laws of Allah, the guidance of Allah. So if we follow, remember Nabi Ibrahim, what did he follow? Quran. The guidance that he got from Allah at that point in time. Right? So if we want to follow Nabi Ibrahim, we need to follow only the guidance of Allah. So when we are at that place in Makkah, and when we are looking at what he set up, the Kaaba is one thing, but it's a physical structure. But more than that, what does it stand for? What should it stand for? That he set up a place where people must promote, yeah?
And I just wanted to say it's a place of safety.
No, yes, it is. But we'll come back to that. But here we are discussing what the Maqam Ibrahim means. Nabi Ibrahim set up a place to promote and to educate people on the one authority of Allah and the oneness of Allah and the removal of any form of shirk. That is what the Maqam Ibrahim means. That we follow only the guidance of Allah. That is what Nabi Ibrahim stood for. That is what he set up. So we need to do two things. So on the one hand, we follow what Nabi Ibrahim did, and Allah tells us in the Quran what he did, what he stood for, and what his sacrifices he went through. So we follow him, we learn from him, we use him as our guide, because Allah tells us to follow. That's the one. Follow his millah.
Yeah.
That's what the Quran says, right?
Yeah,
His
his
method. Follow his millah, follow his method, right? Number one. Number two, not only do we follow him, what else do? We give dawah. We invite others to join in and to follow the same thing. That's what the Nabis, the final Nabi did. Remember, Nabi Muhammad also read the Quran and he studied the Quran. He memorized the Quran. He applied the Quran with his companions. He practiced the Quran. But Nabi Muhammad also had learned from Nabi Ibrahim and all the other Nabis because the Quran was revealed to him. So Nabi Muhammad continued what Nabi Ibrahim did. And then he established, he cleaned up that place with the shirk, Nabi Muhammad and his companion. Right? He cleaned up the place with the shirk. Okay? So we now come along and we follow on. And we continue what they did. We learn from them and we follow them and we use them as our examples, our models. That is what Allah wants us to do. So, to repeat one more time, the Maqam Ibrahim is to remove shirk in any form, in every form, and to make sure we apply only the guidance, the instructions of Allah, our Creator, the Creator of the universe, the one and only Creator, and maintainer of us and of the universe, who maintains us and the universe. We do that. In addition to that, we invite others, we give dawah to them, we educate them, we teach them, we pass on the message that we know. We don't keep it to ourselves, that they must not commit shirk. There's only one Allah. We only follow one Allah. There's only one authority. There's only one guidance that we follow. That is what the guidance that we have today is the Quran. So we also now set up what Nabi Ibrahim did. We also try to set up, establish the oneness, the one authority of Allah. Okay? Remember Allah said, Uswatul Hasanah. Indeed, in the messenger of Allah, you will find the most exalted, excellent standard of character. So who is Allah talking about? The Nabis. You will find their characters are excellent. You will learn from them. talking about them, we include Maryam. Allah is also praising Maryam. We include the wife of Fir'aun. She grew up with, she lived with Fir'aun, but she did not follow him. She did not obey him. She obeyed Allah. And Allah talks about her in the Quran. So we use these as models and as examples. All right. I'll stop there for tonight. Any final questions?
No, in my sleep.
Zaida?
Iqbal, in Nabi Ibrahim's time, did he build the Kaaba before, or if there were idols in the Kaaba, in the building itself? Not before.
Cannot be before, because he established the center. He set up that place. He moved away from his family according to the Quran.
Okay.
He got to Hijrah. Remember, they wanted to burn him.
Yes. Yeah.
Allah told him to relocate and set up place, and this is where he set it up. Allah had a plan. The plan of Allah was that Nabi Muhammad will be coming there as a final messenger, and then the Hajj will be set up there.
Okay. Now, I thought it was one place, but you're explaining now it's two different places.
Yeah. Okay. That's fine, right?
Yes, done.
Sabira?
No, alhamdulillah, I'm fine, jazakallah.
Yes, sir. You there?
Gee, was nice, alhamdulillah. But are we done with the verse for now, or we're gonna continue with
We have to continue. We're only in the beginning of the verse.
Yeah. Okay.
You got any comment?
No.
All right. Sarin?
That was interesting.
Okay. Shanaz?
So I'd say that Nabi Ibrahim was responsible for establishing Salah the way you have explained it in all of the lessons thus far. Because he brought people together, he taught people about the oneness of Allah, and helped people to believe in Allah. So he established Salah. And of course at the time we don't know how much of the congregation was based on learning and helping, but if that was the center of it all, then that definitely took place. So I would say my take on it would be that he was responsible for establishing Salah in the true sense.
Correct.
Excellent.
Yeah. Remember, all the Nabis established Salah. Like Allah talks about Saleh, Shuaib, and all of them. They all had to establish the Salah. And your Salah, you cannot conduct Salah according to the Quran, the way the Quran mentions, if you are committing shirk. So the first thing you need to do with Salah is make sure that the guidance of Allah is implemented as the Salah. And only the guidance of Allah must be implemented. No other guidance must be implemented as the Salah. So yes, you are correct, 100%. That when they establish the Salah, the first thing they have to make sure is that there's no shirk, removal of shirk. And only the guidance of Allah is established. And then you continue with whatever else you want to continue with the Salah. You cannot have Salah when there is any element of shirk. For example, Allah says in the Quran is complete. And the other thing Allah says, you cannot leave out anything on the ayah. You cannot say, I don't want to believe in this ayah, I don't want to believe in that ayah. We have to accept the whole Quran complete from Allah. So, because Allah says there that everything is from Allah, and we are not allowed to reject any part of the Quran. So once that is in place, once the shirk is removed, and we know we must only follow the guidance of Allah, then you continue with the Salah, then you continue with the Umrah, then you continue with the Hajj. Okay, Shanaz?
Gee.
Anything else?
No, nothing. Shukran.
Okay. Okay?
Yeah. It's very important where we are now. What Shanaz said, 100% correct. But we need to make sure, before we move from here, all of us, we need to make sure that we are convinced in the millet of Ibrahim. in what the Quran is telling us, that we have to follow the millet of Ibrahim, we have to be 100% sure that from here onwards, when we're going forward with what Ibrahim taught us, what Isa taught us, what all the Nabi taught us, what Nabi Muhammad taught us, and Allah be pleased with all of them. Allah is pleased with all of them because they did what Allah wanted them to do. Now it's left to us. Now before we move from here, we say Amana is to be convinced. We have to be convinced before we move from here. In normal terms they say believe. What the word convinced is fits in much better. And before we move from here tonight, we have to make sure that we are convinced in what this verse is teaching us and what we're going to learn going on. We have to be convinced in the millet of Ibrahim. That's all I have to say, Ibrahim.
Good point. Sarah?
No comments, Iqbal.
Okay, now, before we end, if you look at Surah 2, Ayah 124, right?
2:124.
وَإِذِ ابْتَلَى إِبْرَاهِيمَ. Okay, Shana, can you read that ayah first, please?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. وَإِذِ ابْتَلَى إِبْرَاهِيمَ رَبُّهُ بِكَلِمَاتٍ فَأَتَمَّهُنَّ قَالَ إِنِّي جَاعِلُكَ لِلنَّاسِ إِمَامًا قَالَ وَمِنْ ذُرِّيَّتِي قَالَ لَا يَنَالُ عَهْدِ الظَّالِمِينَ. صدق الله العظيم.
Shukran. Allah is saying here, and when his Rabb, Ibrahim, Rabbuhu, right, gave him the command, he fulfilled. The Nabi, whatever commands Allah gave him, he honored them and he fulfilled them. Then Allah said, surely I have appointed you a leader, Imaman, for mankind. Allah has appointed Nabi Ibrahim a leader. Right? Then Nabi Ibrahim asked, what about my offspring? Will they also be leaders? That's what he's referring to. And Allah says, what does Allah say? La yanalu ahdi zalimin.
What does zalimin?
Right? Yeah. My covenant, my agreement, my contract does not include the zalimin. Allah tells Nabi Ibrahim that there will be leaders there. And Nabi Ibrahim will be the model where people will follow because of what we discussed earlier. But those that are unjust leaders, oppressive leaders, they cannot be part of that group of leadership that Allah is talking about. So one of the things Allah is telling us about Nabi Ibrahim, that he stood up for justice. He did not violate human rights. He did not oppress people. He was a true and true leader, a compassionate, caring, kind, just leader who was interested in developing these people in various ways, educationally, physically, emotionally, psychologically. Nabi Ibrahim was that type of a leader, compassionate, caring. He stood up for truth. He stood up for justice. He obeyed Allah's guidance immaculately, and he removed shirk. That is what we're talking about when we're looking at the Maqam Ibrahim. This is what Allah is talking about. That Allah praises him and gave him the title of a leader. And Allah gave him that title. We did not appoint himself. He was not appointed by people. Allah gave him that title. Allah appointed him. And why did Allah appoint him? Because Allah was pleased with him. He had the qualities. He sacrificed. He made maximum sacrifices. And he had that quality and ability. And Allah is with him. And that for. Then, follow these people, we do what they did, we use them as models, examples. Ultimately, our objective must be to earn the acceptance of Allah. As long as Allah accepts what we do, we have achieved, we are winners. That is our ultimate aim. Allah must accept what we do. Any final comments before we sign off? Anyone? Okay, so now we're clearer on what we mean when we talk about Maqam Ibrahim. Now we understand the deeper meaning, what it means for us when we think of Ibrahim and when we think of Maqam Ibrahim, establishing what Nabi Ibrahim did. And that is what all leaders must learn. All leaders. Like talking about here. That you cannot be accepted by Allah, and you cannot be honored by Allah, and you cannot be approved by Allah. If Allah says that, if you are one of the zalimin, then Allah will not accept that because of the harm and the damage and the suffering and the misery that that type of leadership causes. Okay. Right. Any final thoughts to you, Shireen?
No, shukran, Iqbal.
Zaida? Zaida?
No, from me. No, nothing from me. Shukran.
Sabra?
No, nothing. Jazakallah khair.
Yasir, you had a comment?
Yeah, sorry, what verse were you reading now? The last verse, the verse you were reading just now.
124.
Sorry?
2:124.
Verse.
2 verse 24.
No, 124.
Oh, 2:124. Okay.
No, sorry.
Yes,
Sorry.
correct.
No, just hold on.
Yes, correct.
That's right, 2:124.
2-1.
Yeah, but it starts with the Arabic. Izabtala Ibrahim. That's how it starts with the Arabic, right?
Yes.
Okay. Any other comments, yes, sir?
No, so maqam is, so you say that is what was established by Allah, set up by Ibrahim AS.
To stand for something, to establish it, to set it up.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so the meme in front, is it not referring to a place like you were saying earlier?
The name of the Fatah place. That place was set up, established.
Okay. Alright.
Sarin?
No comment.
Shunas?
No comment, Shukran.
Okay.
No, we're fine. Shukar.
Sarah?
No comment.
Okay. Alright, everyone. Keep well. Take care. Oh, you want to Yeah? Allama al-insana ma lam ya'lam. Taught us what we do not know. Wallahu ya'lamu wa antum la ta'lamun. Allah is knowledge at all times, and Allah is alimun hakim. All-knowing, supremely knowing, and supremely wise. Okay? Alright,
Are we
take
meeting
care.
Friday?
Yeah, sorry?
Are we meeting Friday?
Friday, yes.
Yeah, how's Friday?
Friday is good for me.
Okay, everyone.
Same
Friday.
Yes, same time.
Okay, so then we continue.
Okay. Alright.
On Friday.
Yep.
Inshallah, okay?
You'll give us the homework tomorrow, Iqbal.
Sorry?
You'll give us the homework tomorrow.
Yeah. The verse, huh?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Right, Assalamu alaikum.
Yes, sir. Then will give you the stuff. Just if you have anything you need to discuss, feel free. That's it.
Okay.
Yes, send it in the morning, inshallah.
Okay. All right. Everyone, take care.
Alright, assalamu alaikum.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم فيه آيات بينات مقام إبراهيم ومن دخله كان آمنا ولله على الناس للناس حج البيت من استطاع إليه سبيلا ومن كفر فإن الله غني عن العالمين صدق الله العظيم.